I guess it's time for another Salvia and or other psychoactive session. But before we even get to that, I'd like to ask you a question. Why are you not exploring consciousness? Why are you not probing the mysteries of reality? There are three ways that you can do this, and they are dreaming, meditation, and ingesting psychoactive substances. Why are you not exploring these things? I'm going to make an appeal to you. Please explore these things. I'm asking you to, okay? Most of you have been warped, twisted, and perverted, tangled up in a ball of confusion. You can untangle the tangled web by exploring your dreams, meditating, and taking psychoactive substances. Because of the warped state that people are either forming into or have solidified into, these three techniques are therefore necessary. But just think of it. If you heed the call and expand your consciousness, probe reality, explore, question, and observe. If you investigate your dreams, meditate, or ingest psychoactive substances, you become a scientist in the science of consciousness. The science of consciousness has been around for a very long time. It's just never been labeled. The consumption of psychoactive substances has been going on for a very long time. It pretty much happens by default. There's no way it could not happen in a world filled with men in search for food. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna ingest a psychoactive substance by mistake. I say mistake because that was not the intention of the food consumption. The intention of the consumption was to meet hunger, not mind stimulation. And here is something that very few people know, and from those that know, most disagree with. And that's that the root cause of all progression and evolution in mankind is from the ingestion of psychoactive substances. The changes that happened to the mind better reconfigured the mind. If not for psychoactive substances, mankind would not have moved beyond instinct. So these organic substances are more than just a plant or a fungi. They are teachers. Sometimes the greatest teachers appear in forms that we do not expect. It's not always going to come in the form of a wise elder. There's teaching and learning going on when we ingest psychoactive substances. There is teaching and learning going on when we dream. And there's teaching and learning going on when we meditate. And when we use our imaginations. We need to put more emphasis and clarity on these activities. These are the activities of the science of consciousness. And even though that these activities of the science of consciousness has been going on for a very long time, it has not yet formed into a cohesive paradigm. But at this time, now more than any other time before, all the accumulated data can be collected and be compiled into a body of knowledge. So the science of consciousness has been around for a while. Get involved. And one of the ways to get involved is ingesting psychoactive substances. Now, you're never going to hear any Eastern philosophy or any of the wise Eastern sages from the ages recommending ingesting psychoactive substances. And that's because in the East, a lot of pure mind has been achieved, and there's no longer any need for psychoactive substances. So it's no surprise that they don't recommend it, because it doesn't make any sense from their frame of reference, nor would it make any sense. When you have achieved pure mind, you maintain pure mind. Ingesting psychoactive substances, dreaming, meditating, using the imagination, all lead to the discovery and exploration of pure mind. Psychoactive experiences, dreaming, and imagination are more for the discovery and exploration of pure mind. Meditation is more for one who becomes grounded in pure mind. It is looking to master and maintain pure mind. In the West, we are far from this, which of course means that we are not tripping, dreaming, or imagining enough. So for those that do not have any footing in pure mind, ingesting psychoactive substances is a good place to start. It's what stimulates and opens the doorway to everything else. This makes people nervous because they don't know what to expect, which is kind of the whole point. But then comes the question, is it safe for us to take psychoactive substances? Will we become crazy and insane? Will we become depressed? Will we become suicidal? And it's a good question, because not all of us are ready for psychoactive substances. For many of us, they will not help. And in certain cases, they could actually make things worse. A student must be ready to receive a teaching. Otherwise, it will not be beneficial, or in some cases, it could produce damage. Psychoactive substances are for able-minded explorers. And one cannot be an able-minded explorer if one is depressed, reckless, foolish, or heavily indulged in the confusion of worldly desires. So if you are not an able-minded explorer, one that wants to seek and know pure mind, do not take psychoactive substances. So for those that are able-minded explorers, those that do seek pure mind, where to begin? And there are a lot of choices. LSD, psilocybin, mescaline, peyote, salvia, and DMT. Now I have recommended going purely organic, and this has caused an uproar. Some people have gotten up in arms about the whole organic versus synthetic choice. People are actually hostile about the suggestion that organic psychoactives are preferable. But truth is, most people are perfectly happy to ingest street drugs or synthetic products. We live in an age of prescriptions. There is no large clamoring for organic or natural products. It is a minority of people. So there's no real reason for anyone to be critical of the thoughts of people who are clearly not the majority. And anyway, there is no disgrace in wanting natural and organic foods and substances. There is disgrace, however, in the amount of chemicals, pesticides, hormones, prescriptions, artificial substances, toxins, and synthetics that people ingest. You will benefit more from psychedelics that come from the earth, rather than created in a lab. Things that are produced naturally ensure the purity. In America, there is always the danger of not getting what you pay for. Anytime people buy substances off the streets, you don't know if anything has been mixed in with the product, such as speed, rat poison, and such. It's not good getting psychoactive substances from street dealers. But if you know a chemist, or make it yourself, or get a guaranteed pure dose, then as far as synthetics, that would be most desirable. Yet most people don't have this luxury. They take a risk from strangers. But if I had the choice between a pure, clean synthetic or an organic, I would go with the organic. There is something to be said for getting consciousness upgrades from the organic world and living earth than from a cold lab. It seems kind of silly to go with a synthetic when it is found naturally budding in plants or can be extracted. Take DMT, for example. It is not only found in plants, but produced in the pineal gland, perhaps in all creatures with a brain and a spinal cord. It's all around us and inside us. The theory is that you get the true trip intended when you go natural. But there are always going to be people that insist synthetic is better. But the question of synthetic should really be applied to the big picture. Would synthetic food be better? Would synthetic people be better? Would synthetic air, sunlight, trees, and water be better? Would a synthetic world be better? One could say that the whole of life is like a synthetic, in that it's an illusion, a created construct. But if one is trying to ascertain the source of this synthetic illusion, then it is most beneficial to associate oneself with the powers that be naturally. What is, and the things that are, independent of material manipulation by mankind. Now, if one has concerns about taking organic substances because of issues of allergies, then that's a completely different story. But instances of this are so low, maybe 1% of the world population. There are not many stories about people having allergic reactions to organic psychoactive substances. But in that rare case, one would have no choice but to go with a synthetic. Ultimately, the choice is yours. This channel recommends organic, but you don't have to agree with that. And there's nothing to say that the synthetics will not lead to the same end. So ultimately, what you ingest and when you ingest it is completely up to you. Figuring out where you should start is completely up to you. But if you seek a chronological recommendation, it would be marijuana, salvia, psilocybin, LSD, mescaline, peyote, then DMT. Ayahuasca and ibogaine would normally fall between peyote and DMT, but your chances of getting them in America is very slim. Better luck in Africa or South America. Ultimately, all of this means nothing if one does not understand why he may need to ingest a psychoactive substance. The answer should always be to obtain the freedom to explore pure mind. Yes, the freedom to explore it. When we take a psychoactive substance, consciousness is stimulated, provoked, and invited to undergo a vision quest. Ones that accept this quest are ones that change the priority of their awareness. Realizing that the objective lies not in where our bodies can take us, but where pure mind can take us. Now, some will say that taking a psychoactive substance is cheating or taking a shortcut on the spiritual path. But that is totally untrue. All that is discouragement. Discouraging freedom. Of course, the illusion will always discourage one from setting oneself free from the illusion. This is a given by default. But taking a psychoactive substance in itself will not set you free, but only move you towards being in a position whereby you can set yourself free.